Details we are learning today about just how many users were affected by Facebook's data sharing with Cambridge Analytica and what Facebook is doing about it. Here are the latest numbers for you again. In Canada, more than 600,000 users may have been affected. 600,000, but the big number is 87 million. That's up considerably from the 50 million originally reported. Big numbers no matter how you look at it, and of course many people now contemplating what steps to take. Delete Facebook altogether or just shore up privacy. Matthew's back with us, our senior technology correspondent, Matthew Braga, to take a look at a number of the things and a timely visit. Thank you very much. So we got Mark Zuckerberg talking again with yet another apology, but also announcing some new steps in terms of tightening up access. What exactly is Facebook doing?
So a laundry list of stuff, but some of the highlights that are probably most relevant to our viewers. If you are a user who is granted an app access to the events that you are attending, the groups that you're a part of, you're no longer able to, apps are no longer able to access a list of everybody else attending that event, maybe attending, not attending, or if you're in a group, an app can't access a list of all the people in that group. So that's pretty good. That kind of stops, like in this Cambridge Analytica situation, from one app being able to use the access to one user's data, spidering out
third-party apps? That's what it's, okay.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Okay, so that's one.
So that's one. And then the other thing I think that's worth noting is if there is a third-party app that you've granted access to your account, it can no longer access things like your relationship status, your political and religious views, where you went to school, where you went to work, location check-ins. There's sort of quite a long list, but so those are some of the big kind of highlights that are no longer available to developers.
Which is really important because some of these areas, were they not absolutely ripe for abuse?
Yeah, I mean, these are the sorts of things that certainly people would be interested in collecting if they wanted to, for example, in the Cambridge Analytica situation, if they wanted to match personality traits with advertisements, for example, being able to make sort of more effective ad targeting for sure.
So we've been talking about scraping. Explain to me what this is.
Yeah, so this was a separate thing to the Cambridge Analytica thing that was in this disclosure from Facebook yesterday. So Facebook had this feature up until yesterday, up until they turned the feature off, where you could search for a user profile using a phone number or an email address. Potentially handy, but they found that this could actually be abused by, I guess, unknown malicious actors just entering in email after email, phone number after phone number. Maybe they had acquired lists from places, entering them into Facebook, seeing what profiles popped up, and then scraping the publicly accessible data. So if you go to your Facebook profile, for example, and I'm not your friend, I might see a couple of pieces of information that you've decided to make publicly available. Someone could then go through and scrape all that information. Of course, scraping isn't an inherently bad thing. Of course, that's how Google trawls the web. I think the difference in this case is that someone was able to do it at scale, that Facebook made it really easy for someone to go through and abuse that feature to just scrape large amounts of data. Zuckerberg basically saying to reporters yesterday that it's pretty likely that if you had a Facebook account with this feature turned on, the ability to search for your profile using a phone number or an email, you probably had your profile scraped, which is a lot of people considering that Facebook has 2 billion users.
Yes, it's pretty alarming. Okay, we're going to find out. I mean, it looks like Monday is the day that people will find out if they're among those millions, or in Canada, 600,000, whose data has been accessed. What do people do if they find out they are in that group?
It's almost more of a peace of mind thing, really. I mean, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's the sort of thing where, so on Monday, there'll be a little sort of notification at the top of your news feed that it'll say, hey, you know, look at the apps and services that you've granted access to your account. That's where you can see if you're one of those 600,000 plus Canadians whose data was provided to the researcher that then provided it to Cambridge Analytica. But beyond that, it's just a peace of mind thing. I guess you can rest easy knowing that someone has your data in addition to all these other apps that you've granted access. As far as what happens next, I mean, I think that's kind of the big question. We have Mark Zuckerberg going to be appearing before a number of Senate committees in the U.S. Next Monday and Tuesday, or rather the 10th and the 11th. We also know that the Privacy Commissioner in Canada is investigating this as well. So certainly I think they're going to be interested in sort of this new disclosure that they now have a number of Canadians that are involved in this. And so they'll be looking into this. I think lawmakers are going to be looking for some more accountability from Mark. That's sort of what's coming up on the days and weeks ahead.
All right. Thanks for coming in today. Not the last conversation we'll have on this, I'm sure. Matthew Braga with us here in studio.